Hello everyone, and welcome back. My name is Sent, and on today's video I got for you my league starter for the newest season of Torchlight Infinite, this one being Season of Nightmare. As you can see from the thumbnail in the background, I've league started with Frostbitten Gemma, as it just got a massive rework. It's basically a new trait completely, and it's super fun, incredibly powerful, very quick for clear speed in particular. And I messed around with a couple of different skills, and I ended up sticking with Icebound Beam, of all things. Beam skills are very cool, in my opinion, in this game, and when I tried it, it was phenomenal for bossing. I wanted to see how far I can push it, and so far I managed to clear all the way up to time mark 7 Traveler. I did one time mark 8 map, although not a big fan of where the build is right now to doing that. It's much more efficient to just run 2 tier 7s and blast, and this build is amazing for that, especially if you pair it with that new league mechanic of Nightmare and God of War. All that extra speed and area of effect makes so your new and improved ice pulse can chain between packs and essentially clear maybe 2 or 3 screens away, and you'll see that in the footage in the background. I am currently playing on SSF, as they just added SSF and Hardcore as well, but I'm playing just Softcore SSF, and yeah, it's been very fun. I'm gonna leave you with the gems and the gear that I have on my character right now, and I'm gonna keep improving on this, try to push it to time mark 8. I think it's very manageable to do with this build, as well as start working on the newest hero, Rosa, that I'll be doing in tandem, and try to manage both characters at the same time and see how that goes. So keep an eye out for the next video. It might be the follow-up to this, or it might be a guide to my Rosa build. So keep an eye out for that, but I'll leave you now with the rest of the character. Bye bye. So for our build that we got here, as you can see, we're currently level 94. I just killed time mark 7 Traveler. I have just over 3k energy shield, and I have most of my life reserved. As you can see, we are going into energy shield setup rather than life, because we are trying to leverage our aura effect eventually. As of right now, we have, if we go here to dummy, we have quite a decent amount of single target DPS. This is with our clear setup, and if we swap to our single target, which involves swapping these two traits, but I'll talk about that in a second, we will instead have about twice as much, I'm pretty sure. Pretty close. I have managed to, the highest I've gotten in the highest DPS in 5 seconds portion of the little window there was about 500 million. So it's dependent on crits and such. I also don't have any order right now, which is the preferred state for us, so it's stronger with my slates, of course, stronger at the start of a map. But let's go through the gear first. So here we have very simple pieces to begin with. Let's go through the uniques first. I have half engraving. This is just for us to get fervor and a bit of increased fervor effect. The life doesn't do much for us. The attack skill does nothing for us. It's just the fervor. Optimally, I will eventually craft a pair of gloves with fervor and drop this and allow me to do that. On the belt, I got quite lucky very early on and dropped a light hunter belt from the cube. I don't think this is the best in slot that you can get. It's quite nice early on, but I think eventually I'm gonna move away from this, because this makes so, from that 4th line over there, it makes so our energy shield recharge is basically non-existent unless we are very low, like 30-20% HP essentially, or in this case 20-30% energy shield, and that's when our recharge actually kicks in. Before that, we basically have no recharge, and makes things very awkward when you want to try and regain that energy shield when you're still very high on energy shield. So eventually I'm gonna try and swap this for something else and see how that works. The energy shield cannot be interrupted is nice, but it's not very important because we are going to be running forced start anyway. For our rare pieces here, as you can see, I tried to go for everything being an energy shield base, as you should. On the helmet, we got implicit 12% cold damage. This is my lowest item level piece. I haven't done anything with it because I'm looking to replace it. And I just went with energy shield, triple resistance to try and fix my resists. My resists right now are kinda scuffed a little bit because I need to fix that. I just swapped the piece around, which were these boots if I remember correctly. Yep. For our chest, again, high energy shield base. Energy shield on the implicits, try to get an elemental damage roll. It's very good for us, obviously. Cast speed is a premium stat for us. It's so very good. It increased our DPS by a ton here, so wherever you can get it, do so. And then we have a couple of resistances as well. Necklace, I went with the Ripple Amulet, as I just said. Cast speed is very good. It's actually a pretty weak piece overall. I have 2 resistances, semi-S. The other 2 prefixes are a waste of time, so I need to recraft this, but I was running very low on plasticity, and I haven't really seen another Ripple Amulet currently, so I'm sticking with this. And then I crafted a little bit of cast speed as well. On the boots, I would actually say the boots here, these boots are very good. The base specifically, we kind of really want this base because more frostbite chance is amazing for us. So as you can see, I just have ES, percentage ES, elemental damage, and this is the only aura effect that I have right now on the build, and then a resistance and movement speed. The rings are both pretty average. This is just resistances, projectile damage, cold damage, and here energy shield, a bit of flat, cast speed, and double resistance. So nothing crazy. Here we have a tin staff with very high cast speed, very high additional damage against frozen enemies. This is an amazing stat for us that you should always aim to get. Then we have spell damage and flat and spell crit rating. Not mandatory to go into crit. I don't have a lot of crit here, but I have about 23%. However, because we're hitting so many times per second, this is already a pretty good. Like, we're hitting 19 times per second nearly. So, amazing, amazing. As much crit as you can.
I can feel ice and fire inside.
On the staff specifically, actually, I forgot. I'm aiming to remove the crit over there. Oh, when I say remove, crafting a different staff. That instead gives us minimum amount of channel stacks, because then, as you can see at the top, we are currently swapping between 4 and 5. Maximum stacks do nothing for us if you're using Icebound Beam. What we really want is reach the maximum stacks as quickly as possible, so those little specks of ice that appear come out, and all of those can shotgun, although at a reduced effect. So it's very important for us to reach the maximum amount of charges as soon as possible. And getting more maximum charges does nothing. In fact, it's very detrimental because it does the opposite effect, of course. So, as I said, on the skills here, I have Icebound, linked to a scatter shot, freeze chance because frostbite is amazing. This is essentially, we want to freeze the target as quickly as possible, as much as possible. Added cold, cold pan, and then channel preparation. This is where I'm getting my initial channel stacks, as well as one on the passive tree. If I can then change that and get it on the tree, on the staff instead, I will most likely swap this for GMP. It's a bit, technically it's a bit less damage, but because it gives us more proj, is more projectiles hitting the same target, which is, I will test it around, of course, but I believe it's probably going to be a lot more damage than using channel preparation. Here we have force start with defensive layers and rhythm. Because we have defensive layers, this is what's going to make the belt not a big issue, just losing the effect of being not being able to be interrupted if we're regenning ES. So eventually I'm aiming to drop that in favor of this. Then we have just our mobility setup, Mana Boil with Well Fought Battle and Mania. Our curse setup, extended duration is really not important, I just set the extra points. Here we have our setup for auras in our mana. So Ice Imbue, Frigid Domain, Summon Thunder Spirit, Energy Fortress, and Erosion Enhancement. Ideally, here I'm going to get increased aura effect from Path of the Brave, but I need to actually drop it. And on our health, we have Magic Source, Swiftness, Elemental Amplification, and I'll most likely add Steadfast, I think, eventually. And because we're using a channel skill, we can use Trigger while channeling to use Blizzard, because Blizzard inflicts lightning and cold resistance debuffs on the enemies, as well as freeze chance, because it just allows it to put some extra Frostbitten stacks on the enemy, and Mark as well. We don't have a candle right now, because I haven't been able to get a run of the City of Eterna, but eventually I would like something with either cold, beam, or projectile effect.
Oh, how I thrive on the pain of my foes.
And that's it for the gear and the skills for our passive tree. So I went with Goddess of Knowledge, Arcanist, Elementalist. This is the passive tree. You can stop and have a look if you want to copy it. Eventually I want to get the points here as well for Frostbite. For our big points, I went with Winter up here. Obviously, Frostbite rating is everything for us, as I said. Here, Insight or Burning Touch if you don't want to have to deal with the added additional skill cost, but Insight gives us a bit more damage. Arcanist, I went with Frostbitten, which is phenomenal for us, and Extreme Coldness. Elementalist, we have Translucent and Quick Ritual. I think, I'm not sure, but if I get the +4 minimum on the staff, I will be able to then swap Quick Ritual to Peculiar Vibes, and it will be more damage, but that needs testing. For our Divine Slates, as you can see, I haven't unlocked everything yet. I'm missing a level, I'll get there. And what we're getting here is attack damage, sealed mana. We have quite a bit of sealed mana here to allow us to fit all of our auras. So we have 3, 6, 7.5, 9, yeah, 9%, no, 11% sealed mana. So every single one of these have sealed mana. So they're quite good in that sense, and all of them also have other beneficial effects for us. So defense, crit, spell crit per focus blessing, we have 5, so that's quite a bit of spell crit as well. Here is where we're getting the new god is balancing order and chaos that we saw in the beginning, and we want to be in order as much as possible because it gives us up to, I want to say 12% additional cast speed. So very, very good amount of cast speed at the beginning of an encounter. And then we have a bit of crit strike damage per fervor rating and cast speed as well. So those are pretty decent for a starting situation. I also want to get some cast speed, not cast speed, aura effect and sealed mana on our amulet, because that I believe might allow us to fit still an additional aura. I'll have to see. But yes, that's the setup as of right now. For our traits, here we have additional damage against frozen targets and cold pen. Something very good to get here is that additional damage against cold targets, as well as cold pen, as well as reduced interval of cold pulse is very nice as well. And obviously you want one with 3 open slots. On the memories, I have cold pulse inflicts frostbite on targets and additional damage. And then the other two have movement speed and crit strike, I'm pretty sure. Oh no, I swapped this one. Yeah, +2 max cold energy. Max cold energy is amazing. Would love to get that on all three, realistically. And the freeze effect, although nice. The main drive for this one was the max cold effect. Or the max cold energy, I should say. On the traits themselves. So 13 and 50 are non-negotiable, so doesn't really matter. On the level 32, it's also non-negotiable. It's Snowy Embrace. This is not, you don't need this at any point. Then we have two setups here. This setup is for clearing maps. You go with Frost Tides to reduce the cold pulse interval, as well as the first time an enemy is hit by a cold pulse, they immediately get 100 additional frostbite rating. For most enemies, this means they're gonna get frozen, and you're gonna do a massive amount of extra damage to them. And we then take Blooming Frost Flower upon inflicting freeze, cast cold pulse at a frozen target once without consuming any cold energy, meaning it doesn't matter if your cold pulse is on cooldown. When you inflict them with freeze, you're gonna create a cold pulse anyway, and this then enemies that have been hit by a cold pulse recently take 12% additional cold damage, and this stacks. So if things are very packed together, this is gonna stack up to 5 times, up to 60%. So this allows us to, when clearing maps, chain our cold pulse between enemies, and is what's creating our ability to clear 2 or 3 screens away from where we are. For single target, however, between these two, it's not a massive change from what I could test, but Frigid Infusion is about 30 million, I want to say, better. And then Bone Piercing Frost is massive for single target. Swapping to this on a single target will make our damage skyrocket, as we saw in the demo earlier. Very, very important for single target. But for clear, Frost Tides, Blooming Frost Flower. And yeah, that's it, really. I will, like I said, keep working on this build and my Rose build, both on SSF, as it's really what I enjoy to play the most. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.